One of the other big stories over the last week or so was the appearance by Dr. Robert Malone on the Joe Rogan podcast. And he talked about something called mass formation psychosis, which I'll let him explain in just a moment. But we all sort of know what it is, right? Like if you say the phrase mass formation psychosis, it's mass, it's a lot, formation, it's something that's kind of moving, psychosis, a little craziness. It's sort of what we all can sort of tell without being experts has been happening over the last 2 years, right? Everyone is just sort of nuts and nothing is really true or real, or at least you got to really try to pilfer some reality out of all of the nonsense. And that the people in charge, say Joe Biden, Dr. Fauci, et cetera, have lied to us all along. So before we get into mass formation psychosis, I'm going to show you some lies. We've got a compilation.
During 2021, we should be able to manufacture a lot of vaccines, and that vaccine, key goal is to stop the transmission, to get the immunity levels up so that you get almost no infection going on whatsoever. Everyone who takes the vaccine is not just protecting themselves, but reducing their transmission to other people and allowing society to get back to normal.
We can kind of almost see the end. We're vaccinating so very fast. Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people. That means the vaccines will get us to the end of this.
Essentially, vaccines block you from getting and giving the virus.
Fully vaccinated people are at a very, very low risk of getting COVID-19. Therefore, if you've been fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask.
When people are vaccinated, they can feel safe that they are not going to get infected.
Okay, so everything that those people to that catchy tune were telling you there over the last 2 years was basically a lie or complete misinformation or disinformation, or they didn't know what they were talking about, or they're misinforming you, lying, whatever phrase you want to use, for political purposes or something. But these are the people in charge, right? This is Joe Biden. Does he know what he's saying, or is he just handed a script and he reads it, or is he intentionally lying? Was Fauci lying when he said that? My favorite one is the actress on MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, because she reads off the teleprompter with such certitude, she's so sure of exactly what she's reading, and that's exactly what's going to happen, and she sits there, and it's MSNBC, and she's very sure of something that's completely wrong. So these people have lied and misinformed all of us all along. And what's interesting, think about, I do a daily show here, right? I do a 5-day-a-week show. How come I didn't lie about all that stuff this whole time? How come I was like, hey, if you want to get it, get it. Maybe we should have some more info, talk to your doctor, make a choice for yourself. So when you see all these lies all the time, don't pretend that everyone lied all along. And we're going to have to think about when this is all done, and one day it will be, what do we do with these people? Like, I'm not for throwing them in the gulag like they'd love to do with us, but should they be like sort of shamed out of public society? Bill Gates? What does Bill Gates have to do with all of our public health? Congratulations for creating paint on windows in 1995. Great guy, Bill Gates, but you don't run my life. Anywho, it gets even better. Here's CDC Director Walensky. You know this woman. We've shown many clips of her. She's basically admitting that the vaccines just don't work.
Our vaccines are working exceptionally well. They continue to work well for Delta with regard to severe illness and death. They prevent it. But what they can't do anymore is prevent transmission. So if you're going home to somebody who has not been vaccinated, to somebody who can't get vaccinated, somebody who might be immunosuppressed or a little bit frail, somebody who has comorbidities that put them at high risk, I would suggest you wear a mask in public indoor settings.
Oh, lady. Okay, so they work well, but they don't prevent transmission. What's also interesting is they not only don't prevent transmission, but we know that it doesn't really matter if you're relatively young and healthy, whether you're vaccinated or not, and you get COVID, because people are recovering, especially from the Omicron variant. I know plenty of people who were vaccinated who had COVID the exact same time as me, and they kept saying, because they've been vaccinated, and I got the 2 vaccines, and I was boosted, and I had 87 shots and everything else, it didn't hit me that hard. right? Like, so that's their own version of it. That's the thing that everybody, as Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker, and as all of these public people have gotten it, and I'm sure AOC is going to say the same thing. I got the boosters, I did what I was supposed to do, I got the shot, so I didn't get that sick. Well, there are plenty of people who didn't do those things, who figured out other treatments, right? Or maybe just took some Advil, whatever it is that they decided to do, who also aren't that sick. So there's no real any evidence on any of that. But the very people who were telling us that masks work are now telling us masks don't work. The people who are telling us that the vaccine stops transmission and you can then go out and live your life are now telling us the complete reverse. And that brings me to mass formation psychosis. So Dr. Robert Malone was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he is one of the creators of the mRNA vaccine. And he went on for a couple hours. I'm sure many of you have seen some clips of this already. And he talked about what is happening here, not really at the disease level, but what is happening to all of us collectively, mentally. Take a look.
Basically, European intellectual inquiry into what the heck happened in Germany in the 20s and 30s. You know, very intelligent, highly educated population, and they went barking mad. And how did that happen? The answer is mass formation psychosis. When you have a society that has become decoupled from each other and has free-floating anxiety and a sense that things don't make sense, we can't understand it, and then their attention gets focused by a leader or a series of events on one small point, just like hypnosis, they literally become hypnotized and can be led anywhere. And one of the aspects of that phenomena is the people that they identify as their leaders, the ones typically that come in and say, you have this pain and I can solve it for you. I and I alone, okay, can fix this problem for you, okay? Then they will follow that person through. It doesn't matter whether they lie to him or whatever. The data are irrelevant. And furthermore, anybody who questions that narrative is to be immediately attacked. They are the other. This is central to mass formation psychosis. And this is what has happened. We had all those conditions. If you remember back before 2019, everybody was complaining, the world doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. And we're all isolated from each other. We're all on our little tools. We're not connected socially anymore, except through social media. And then this thing happened and everybody focused on it. That is how mass formation psychosis happens, and that is what's happened here.
Who sounds more truthful? Dr. Robert Malone, as he calmly explains that, one of the founders of mRNA technology, someone who is a complete expert on what we are all injecting ourselves with, right? Does he sound more honest, or is it Rachel Maddow reading off the teleprompter? Is it Joe Rogan? Is it Joe Biden? Rogan's fine. Is it Biden as he is reading whatever they put in front of him, et cetera, et cetera? I think you guys know the answer to that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm an expert in mass formation psychosis, but Malone's pretty close to it. And over the last 2 years, I think I have spent most of my time on this show. I think probably the main reason you watch the show is to pilfer some of that sanity from all of the bullshit, all of the lies that are constantly thrown at us, right? Brett Kavanaugh is a serial rapist. The Covington kids are all racist. Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist murderer. Donald Trump said very fine people on both sides. Russia hoax, like all of this stuff that can cause a mass formation psychosis, a bunch of misinformation fed to us from the machine, that you then see something. You might find some little clip, some crazy guy online who might be able to counter some of that information, but you're the one that feels crazy for having seen it because so much of the machine is just about peddling bullshit to control you and mandate you do this and decide when you can go out and everything else.